Greetings.
Greetings.
I'm Anastasia Sprout. This is Sprout, and we're here with my friend and someone I admire greatly, Kurt Benschoof.
Welcome.
Thank you. We are having a fireside chat at our friend's home where we've been staying, and
This is my prison.
And this is also Kurt's prison, which is part of what I wanted to talk with you about today. What happened? How did you get here? What's going to happen next?
Right. So how much background?
I
do you want
know,
me to
this
go
is
into?
a big question. So I
Well-
wrote the article about you, so Seattle Superhero.
Okay, so people
I
know.
gave some background. I can refer people to the article, so just a brief summary.
Right. Yeah. But I'm not a superhero. I'm just a dad.
I know, you didn't like that title and I used it against your will when you were in jail.
So just to be clear, but so readers have a background about that, and so what happened between then and now is that I continued my civil litigation in federal court against corrupt city and county officials.
Seattle City and King County officials, Kurt has been standing up to them in court for how long? How long has this been going on?
Oh, over 4 years now.
4 years of taking the hard road, taking the high road, not taking the easy way out and donning a mask as many of us did, standing up and saying this is not right, and lots of fallout as a result of that.
Well, I still think I took the easy road because it would have been incredibly difficult for me to comply with totalitarian dictates.
Yeah. So for you, it was the easy road.
Yeah.
Because there's something about your vision where you can see it so clearly. You saw it from the start. So someone like me, I didn't see it. I thought it was weird, but I got 2 PCR tests and wore a mask, and then I realized this is all wrong. So some people will have gotten the jab who are watching this. Some people, maybe they knew right away, but a lot of people didn't. So how did you know?
Well, common sense. I mean, the first baseline that I operate under is the government and media are generally lying about anything of any relevance.
Yeah.
They'll tell the truth about basic things. For example, they'll tell the truth that we've invaded Iraq, but they'll lie about the why, and the why is the important part.
Yeah.
So, and whenever I see that the government and media and corporations are all singing in the same choir, it's even more suspicious because there's such uniformity in the messaging.
Okay.
So that was a red flag for me.
Yeah.
Plus my magic tinfoil hat protects me. That's a joke. So it started out with them maliciously prosecuting me for the non-crime of shopping without a face covering.
One of the things I learned from you, early on, Kurt was a teacher for me and an inspiration because I didn't want to wear a mask anymore. And even though I did get a valid mask exemption, it didn't matter in the store at all. And he was coaching me about the fact that if someone is serving the public, then they have a right, they're beholden to the public. And that's part of what you were standing up for, is if this grocery store is going to be serving people in the public, then they need to do so.
Yeah, public accommodations, which is what grocery stores are prohibited under federal law, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, from discriminating based upon race, religious beliefs, national origin, I can't remember what, political affiliations or something like that. And so I kept expressing to the stores, I'm like, hey, wearing a face covering is a condition of entrance to your stores, violates my religious beliefs. The breath of life is sacred, and I gave the corollary, which I thought would get through even the thickest brains, which was, imagine if radical Muslims billionaires bought all the grocery stores in Seattle, and suddenly conditioned the entrance of any shopper upon them wearing a burqa.
What would we do?
People would have been outraged. They would have said, well, that's a violation of our religious beliefs.
Wow.
Right?
That's very clear when you put it that way. And also, it occurred to me the first time you saying that, like, even though I don't ascribe to any one religion, I have a strong spiritual practice. We could call that my religion, which is I stand up to liars.
Exactly.
It
yeah.
makes me sick to comply with lies. That's what I've learned. It's a huge piece that I've learned. I need to tell the truth myself and not comply with lying systems, lying operations. It's hard not to because there's so many and they're so layered in our society, but you were a role model who didn't comply with lies. And you stood up and you were...
I was complying with the truth and common sense.
That's right. So you were attacked, you were arrested, you were
Yeah.
jailed, you were
Yeah.
forced to take a nasal swab test.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me out of the holding cell to see a judge unless I took a PCR test multiple times,
Yeah.
which was, you know, a little violating, but I make the
Down
best
the
of it.
nose?
Up the nose,
I mean,
actually.
yeah, okay. Up the nose.
Up the nose.
And then now, of course, there's information about how our genetics are taken, tested, sold, were cloned, possibly.
They stole my genetics?
I think they would have been very interested in
Well,
your
sharing
genetics.
is caring, so, you know.
If we're at war, they are gonna want your genetics because they want to know who is this male who stands up to them. You are their biggest threat.
Well, good luck figuring it out from my genetics.
All right. So
Not really worried about it.
no, it's something more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the prosecutions, the retaliation increased, hundreds of $1,000s of bail, and then they would issue these failure to appear bench warrants, which were really just, I would try to go to court to deal with their malicious prosecutions, and they would say, well, if you don't put on a face covering and come in the courtroom, we're not going to let you in the courtroom. And then when I would try to appear by Zoom, they'd say, you're not appearing.
Failure
And
to
then,
appear.
then they would issue a ridiculous, right? And they were only doing this to me. Everybody else, they wanted them to appear by Zoom.
Yeah, they didn't
But-
want people to come.
Yeah, so it
So
was
you were
just sophomoric harassment. It was ridiculous.
And yeah.
Yeah, and then my son's mother and her girlfriend decided to take advantage of the policies and practices and widespread customs of the city to discriminate against me by, they tried to seize sole custody of my son, who was 12 at the time, by saying, oh, Kurt's a crazy anti-masker, he's dangerous, da-da-da-da, he shouldn't have any contact with our son, and which of course is just, they called me a cult leader.
A cult leader.
Yes, they said that that my home church, that I was running a white supremacist cult, and basically said I was a domestic terrorist, drug dealer, all these just ridiculous nonsense. That I was trafficking prostitutes.
Oh!
They even accused me of trafficking my own son.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
That is
please
so
don't.
outrageous.
No, it's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious.
I mean, I just want to say that I can relate a little bit because my activism efforts to talk about that pornography might be harmful to children led to me creating a class to train professionals, and I had it credentialed for, continuing education for professionals. And then what happened is the powers, the parasites that be have been attacking me from the porn industry for years. And basically they took the annual event that I put on, the March for Innocence, where I asked people to wear white to represent innocence, and we gather once a year to talk about sex trafficking and enslavement and freeing kids, and they accused me of being a cult leader who makes all my followers wear white. And they had pictures from the event where we were wearing white. And then I lost my platform, I lost my credentialing. They took the credentials off my classes, so I could no longer...
That's why I say fuck credentials, because...
Yes, I've learned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime I'm asking someone else to credential me, I'm just guaranteeing trouble.
Because if they can, it's basically giving them the power to grant you a privilege, which they can then take away.
Yes, which I already had. Like, I either have something to teach or I don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, so anyway, go on. So you got all those accusations heaped on you by your ex.
Yep, and then they stole my car, kidnapped my son inside, and then got a restraining order against me saying that I was a big scary man, even though I'm just trying to talk to my kid. And the city of Seattle found it to be a opportunity for them to aid and abet the perjuring prostitutes, meaning my son's mother and her girlfriend.
They were selling sex? They were working as prostitutes?
They are prostitutes. They've been prostitutes for years.
Wow.
You can find them on the internet.
So they projected that onto you, or
Yeah,
tried?
well, that's what narcissistic
Yeah.
borderlines do.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, the county courts, the city courts, they, no matter how much evidence of their perjury and crimes I provided them, as well as law enforcement, they wouldn't do anything. They kept saying that I was the bad guy.
You were just a target on their radar, no matter
Yeah, well,
what.
and so the city prosecutors and judges looked at this as an opportunity to, by aiding and abetting the perjuring prostitutes, they could attack me and silence me. They put out warrants for my arrest in March of 2023. They put out a $250,000 warrant, and I managed to just lay low for almost a year and a half, but eventually they really wanted to shut me up because I had filed so many federal lawsuits. I was appealing to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and so really their only option to silence me was to send 35 SPD SWAT officers and a helicopter to my house on the morning of July 3rd, and instead of knocking on the door, which they had been given a key to by my son's mom, so they could have just walked right in. They never knocked. They threw flashbang grenades starting at dawn, blew out all my windows with OC canisters, and caused $80,000 to $100,000 damage. And then,
my God.
And then they came in, and I was just sitting in the closet because I didn't want to walk to the door like this because I didn't want to get shot. So I just waited for them to find me, and then they took me out, handcuffed me, and I spent almost 5 months in jail.
Okay, so I just have to go slow here because I'm processing this horrific. Yeah, I mean.
It's a clown show.
It's a clown show. So if you haven't noticed, Kurt has an amazing sense of humor, and he keeps us laughing around here.
I try.
You do, despite everything he's been through, and I just wanted to acknowledge it's as your friend. I mean, I knew that happened to you, but hearing it in more detail makes it more real. So you've got your ankle monitor.
Oh yeah, here's my ankle monitor.
You're on house arrest.
These are my special ankle monitor socks because this rubs my ankle, and so I have to wear extra thick socks. And the irony is that I got a bunch of these ugly colored striped socks from PCC, but I've been banned from entering PCC because
The grocery store where he went in with 6 feet apart from everyone, and they issued a restraining order against him and said he violated it.
Yeah. Anyways.
So I like those socks, but you only have one. You have 2 different kinds of socks on.
Well, yeah, because these are thicker, so.
Oh, they're your special ankle monitor
These are
socks.
my special ankle monitor socks because it helps not my ankle doesn't get rubbed with thicker socks.
Okay, so this is for the average person who's watching this. There's probably no average people that watch this. For the amazing people that are watching this, I'm just still processing. Like, you were in your house trying to.
I was sleeping at 5:30 a.m. If they would have waited a few minutes, I probably would have gone out on my bike to get a coffee. But yeah.
Wow. So this is like something out of a movie for most humans. They're sleeping at home, and suddenly there's huge loud noises.
Yeah, flashbang grenades they're meant to be disorienting.
Yeah. So you are awakened into this disorientation, and did you know right away? Okay, they finally pulled the plug.
No, it took me about 5 seconds. The first 4 seconds, I was like, what? Because it was July 3rd. I was like, why the fuck are people setting off fireworks a day early at 6 a.m.?
So
And then I was
July
like, wait.
3rd.
I was like, this is.
They wanted you in jail by July 4th.
Yeah.
That's a code. I mean, it's just retaliation.
So, so they arrested me. And of course, the city never had jurisdiction to prosecute me, nor issue the warrant. And the corrupt SPD detective, Ryan G. Ellis, is the one who supposedly served me the restraining orders, but his proof of service was totally fraudulent, which I've shown in court. He's been knowingly aiding and abetting the perjuring prostitutes, and he was the one that went and got the facially invalid search warrant violation of the Fourth Amendment particularity clause. So they hauled me off to jail, and the hope of the city and the county officials was that all of the lawsuits that I had going, that they'd be dismissed while I was in jail, and that would solve the problem.
Okay, so I just want to name one of those lawsuits was against the city of Seattle.
Yep.
So I actually took that down to the court, the federal
You did?
court. I did.
Yeah, so you're saying
I took the
lawsuit down.
I took the
yeah.
big lawsuit down to the city of Seattle.
Yeah.
And you were suing them. So I'm just looking at the issue of the why. So coming back to if we can get underneath the why did they have to silence you? Why
Right,
did they
well,
make
so
such a case?
that lawsuit, Western District of Washington 2:23-CD-1392-J&W, if anybody wants to look it up, which was filed in September of 2023, and you went and served it that same day on the city of Seattle. I pled that the city is involved in a RICO enterprise.
RICO enterprise.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah, which it's civil and criminal, right? I was suing under civil RICO for damages, but I was essentially laying the groundwork for the FBI and DOJ wanted to prosecute corrupt judges and prosecutors because they're corruptly prosecuting people without personal or subject matter jurisdiction.
Okay, so I really want to pause with that and just acknowledge we have a city that is corrupt. The evidence is the city of Seattle is corrupt. So people are like, who is that bad guy that
Well,
did this?
there's corrupt people within government.
Okay, so government and people running the city that have had influence on you through the courts, through the legal system, the lawyers, through the police. I mean, that's a lot
The people
of...
who are supposed to be protecting our rights were the ones violating.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's helpful for people to think about, we're looking at organized crime. It's
Yeah, that's
calling
what RICO
itself
is.
calling itself a city,
Yeah.
but it's actually the mob. So the city of Seattle, the positive things about the city have been taken over by the mob. That's what we're saying here. That's what we're alleging.
There's corrupt individuals running a RICO enterprise.
That's right. Thank you. So you were in jail.
So it got increasingly punitive within the jail in violation of the 8th Amendment while I was a pretrial detainee because they're not supposed to do anything punitive before you've even been convicted of anything. So it was already hard enough, of course, to communicate with anybody on the outside. All your calls are recorded. But then even me litigating with my 3-inch golf pencil and scrap paper, any of the many federal lawsuits I had going, became impossible because
How convenient.
even though people donated money on my books, which is like your jail account, so you can buy stuff from the commissary, the jail staff, the Department of Adult and Juvenile Detention for King County, refused to sell me envelopes, postage, paper. So they basically made it impossible for me to litigate.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough just to imprison me. They had to cut off my access to basic office materials.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm amazed you're still alive, actually.
Well, it's better to be lucky than talented. So.
And humble too. Okay, so you had some solitary confinement.
Yeah. So eventually, they kept putting me in more and more restrictive housing to the point where eventually they put me in solitary confinement for weeks, and at the tail end of that, they cut off even my access to the telephone. So I couldn't even call my attorney.
So silencing you, when I heard that you were in jail, I was really bummed. It was really scary because I have had this feeling like, wow, this is one of the only males in the city that is standing up to this corrupt, organized, criminal, empowered entity.
Well, I was still standing up in jail.
Yeah, you were. So tell us about, how did you stand up in jail? Like, what did you do?
No, I mean, I refer to it as the monastery, and even though none of the guards and abusers realized that they were, the monks teaching me these lessons in patience and perseverance, I knew that they were fulfilling that role, and so I just took it as a challenge to learn more patience and perseverance and trust the process, and so I didn't know how many days I was going to be in there, but I knew eventually I would get out, and I did.
You did get out. You
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
That seems
And
like such a miracle. Okay.
That's all thanks to an amazing community of friends who showed up, and they were just relentless in letting the city and county officials know that they were keeping an eye on things, that this is outrageous. They, under the Section 35 of the Judiciary Act of 1789, one of my friends discovered that anybody I designate can be my assistants of counsel. They don't have to be a licensed attorney, because under that act, which is still law, you can either represent yourself pro se, you can hire an attorney, or you can be represented by assistants of counsel. So, just FYI.
Yeah,
And
good to
so,
know for people.
My assistants of counsel, they kept all of my lawsuits alive. They filed documents on my behalf,
Ah.
and they basically kicked ass.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
Even my bail was over $800,000 at one point. When it got reduced down to only $420,000,
Only.
one of my amazing friends bailed me out.
Oh.
But still, it took over 2 weeks after they paid my bail before I actually got out, because the city and county were doing everything they could to come up with reasons not to let me out, which is unheard of. As an example, just so you know how ridiculous this is, the county said, well, we need an ankle monitor on his left ankle, and the city said, well, we need our own ankle monitor on his right ankle, and then they both claimed that that the ankle monitors would interfere with each other, and so because of that, they couldn't let me out.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's as stupid as if somebody said, well, if you have two internet modems in the same house, neither of them will work. Duh. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh my god.
But and it just went around and around. I'll spare details, but that's how
I
ridiculous,
believe you.
how desperate they were
I believe
to
you.
keep me inside and
Yeah.
keep me silent.
Yes, so I was in Sedona, but I was hearing play-by-plays from friends. That's when we did a video with Legal Beagles, which was great. And
Gary
just,
Brown.
yay,
Yeah.
trying to keep the word out. But I was hearing about how people were showing up in court, and it was a kangaroo court in Seattle. I mean, seriously, bizarre rights that were taken away.
That is not an exaggeration,
Okay.
because
There was a kangaroo in court.
for example, they wouldn't let me call my own witnesses. So under Article 1, Section 22, that's an established right. Just so when I say over the top, I went and searched federal case law, because I was like, well, this must have happened before. There must be some case law about people being denied the right to call witnesses. I couldn't find a single case where a criminal defendant has raised this issue in any federal court case, because it's unheard of. Like,
Yeah.
that's how terrified they were.
You're breaking the mold left and
They were
right.
like, well, we can't let them. They wouldn't let me in the courtroom during jury selection, so they got to handpick their own jury.
I mean, it's just any person who doesn't know the law very much just knows that.
I think anybody who's watched a single Law and
Perry
Order
Mason
show, Perry Mason
The older
knows
one.
that would
Wait a
never
minute,
happen.
what? We have this sense of these ideals held,
Right. That only happens in banana republics.
Yeah, that's right. Not Seattle, Washington. So
Diversity, equity, inclusivity. I mean,
except for you,
well, yeah.
right? That is the dark side of those words in this city, is
And
that they do not apply to everyone.
Right, and I used to be, I was absolutely a staunch liberal.
Me too.
Like anti-corporations.
Me too.
I mean, WTO 1999.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, and then I saw what started happening, and I was like, wait, like, the whole liberal platform got hijacked. They
That's
don't care
right.
about free speech.
That's
They don't
right.
care about freedom of religion.
No, it's a stealth takeover, colonization from
Yeah.
inside, quiet, covert, secret. We've had a pretty thriving small freedom community here in Seattle through the fake pandemic, the lockdowns. Those are some of the people that said you cannot be in jail Like, it's just not acceptable. We have to unite to get him out. And one thing I love about this story, so I love you and your strength and perseverance and your spiritual power to see this as you choose to see it, as opposed to dropping into despair. You just refuse to do that, and it's very encouraging.
Not gonna do it. What you heard?
And it's also a story of success, of friendship,
Totally.
and people locally and nationally, internationally, who have come to your support, and I think been inspired by you. I mean, to have someone kick in for $400,000 for your bail, I mean, that's like, whoa. That's a serious commitment to the principles that you're standing up for. And so it's not just you, it's the people around you. We want to stand up for these same principles. We don't want our city to be colonized by RICO criminals. Like, we don't want that. That's not acceptable to us. So you're leading the way. We're trying to support you. And now you're going forward. So what do you hope is next for you?
Actually, I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck here in electronic home detention.
So Kurt has not left here since I got here. He can't leave. So I've been.
Well, they let me go to court.
Oh, so they have to prove and control wherever you go, but it's a court case. That's.
Well, they have control issues.
Yes, they have control issues,
I'm
especially.
trying to be understanding and compassionate because I'm sure it's difficult for them.
Well, I'm not there. I'm really angry, and it's also at times kind of fun because I see your power, and I look at what I think's coming. It's not good for the criminals that are holding this kind of corruption in Seattle. It does not look good for them.
Yeah, I mean they're getting sued. They can delay justice, but all the case law and the facts are on my side, and I think there's a possibility that some of them may be criminally prosecuted. So, in that sense, it doesn't look good for them.
No, in fact, perhaps what's coming is a complete inversion where you are free and they are not. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see actual justice in this case, in related cases. I'd like to see this case inspire other cases all across America. I think it already is.
Right. Not political prosecutions like what's been going on, but actual equitable justice for all based upon the facts and the law, because that's what's fair.
That's right. And that has been too much to ask, but we're changing that. You're changing that.
Everybody's changing it.
We're all trying to change it. The people who are working on it. And we want other people to also support this. So if people want to support you, what do they do?
Hey, you didn't tell me that was part of the
I
interview.
know. It's how everyone always closes the interviews. And
Well, can I give advice?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think everybody, if they were asking me what I think they should do, and I have the permission to give them this advice,
Okay, so
I would say,
spiritual.
first of all, let your guiding principle be to do whatever you think is right.
okay,
Because I think,
act from within.
yeah, because we all have moral guiding compasses, and we don't need other people telling us what to do, right?
Okay.
Because everybody's an individual.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
That's a good one. We can
Yeah.
stop there.
I mean, I just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean,
because
you're living that.
I'm just
You're
a dude, and I think everybody else should just be themselves and do what they think is right.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking to us. Thanks for doing what you're doing. It's incredibly important in my mind to the future of civilized society.
High five!
Yoo-hoo!